Hey, hi, this is Jagdish. In this video, I will explain mini project which I done at the end of the CCP intensive course. Here the project name is BookHub. So here the project starts from login page. So now coming to the code, here you can see this is the login component which is holding index.js file and index.css file. So inside the index.js file, here the execution starts from inside the render function. Here you can see the login container. Whatever you are seeing on the screen, the code behind this is the file index.js file. So here this is the code behind that form. So here you can see the form code. So inside the form I wrote two text boxes, one is for username and another is for password. So when I type inside the text boxes, these two functions will be called change username and change password, and will get automatically updated to the state, and that will get reflected inside the text boxes. And when I do on submit, this button will be called. Inside the submit button, here you can see this is the function. Inside the submit button, you can see I did a API call using the fetch method. So here the API call, you can see the API call URL, and how we are fetching is depends on the method we use it. Here I used method post. Here I took some dummy data username and password. Here I am just stringifying that object data using JSON keyword, and I am keeping the value to the key of body inside options. So here the call comes to the 26th line. Here fetch will be called and promise object will be written to the response, and from the response it will check the user is valid or not. If the user didn't valid, response will be false. Here the response dot OK is true, which means the response is true. That means the submission credentials are valid. Here let's see the application. Here I entered incorrect credentials. Let's see what happens when I click the login button. So here the error message like username and password didn't match. So here in the code backside in the login page, you can see here the code. Here response.ok is called false. Here the response.ok is false, which means else part of the code is executed. So here in the code, it is showing that the response that comes from the database error.response.ok is false, which means this code got executed. Now let's see what happens if I enter the correct credentials. So here the page redirected to the home page. Let's see what happened here. Here from the databases, response.ok is equal to true got executed. So inside the if condition, history.replace also got executed. So what it did is it replaced the URL path with slash. So you can see here what is the path. So here inside the app.js file, here you can see there are 5 routes that are wrapped inside the switch statement. So route exit path is called login is the first route. It is the starting of the application. So other than the login route, you can see there are home route, shelf route, books route. All these are kept inside the protector route. What protector route will do is it will just check whether the user logged in. If the user didn't log in, the protector route component will return the user to log in again. If the user already logged in, the protector route component will make the user to redirect to the page he wanted. So this is the app.js file. These are the routes which are making the user to redirect to a certain pages. So here in the login page, when the response.ok is equal to true, history.replaced the old path with slash. That is why the page redirected to the home page. So now let's see what is home page here. On the top side there is a header section. This is the code behind the header section. These are the components. So inside the header section, this is the code. So let's see here. On the header section, you can see there is home, bookshelf, company logo, and logout. So below the below the header section, there is content of the home page. So here in the home page, in the home component, inside the render function, you can see here. This is the header component I am using here, and under this is the code of the home content. Whatever the code you are seeing here from under the header section, this is the code behind. Whatever you are seeing on the top side, the header section, this is the header component I am using. That is why you can see here header on the top section and the content on the bottom section. Now let's see the content of the home page. So inside the home page, this is the heading tag and this is the paragraph. This is telling about the information of the home page. So below this, you can see there is a React Silk container. So what React Silk container will do is, it is just like a React carousel component where it takes multiple images or multiple videos and makes the user to switch between one image or one video to another video. This is the React Silk, and that is a third party package. So before using the third party package, we have to import that one. Here you can see the import slider from React Silk, and you can see the below code, the React Silk container. This is the slider, and this is the code behind React Silk. And inside the code, here I used map function. So in top list dot map function. So what this top list we can see here. When the home page is loaded first, inside the home page code, component did want is executed automatically. Inside the component did want, there is a call to get details function. So here this is the get details function. So inside the get details function, here you can see we made a API call. This is the URL of the API call, and this API call telling that it is calling top rated books. And here how we are making API call to the database depends upon the options we provided here. So actually there will be three options like get, post, put. And here inside the option, here we use get, which means we want get top rated books, but we don't want to update or anything. That is why here I used method get. So inside the header option, here I used authorization, which I am telling that when I logged in, the database give response a JSON JW tagging. So after that one, whenever we are accessing any resources to the databases, we also have to pass our JW token to make valid authorizations. This is the code you can see here. So under this one, you can see fetch method is called, and from the responses, this is the response variable which is holding the response that come from the databases, and this is the data after converting the response to the .json. So here if the response is executed true, this function will be executed. If the response that comes from the database is false, then this function will be executed. Here you can see here, and this is the switch details. Why I am using switch details means, so whenever we are requesting database to the resources, we don't know whether the request will be success or not. So before coming the data, there will be some time for fetching the data. So in the meantime, here I am using the loading function to load. So here, if the request came to the client side, then a success method will be executed. If any request got failed, failure component will be loaded, and after if the request got success and there is no data, then empty component will be executed. This is the switch details. So so entire these switch details are API calls. All these things are common for book details component, bookshelf component, login component. So now here in the app, so when I click any of these images, you can see here this is the code. So for the data that comes from the databases, I have wrapped inside link component for each and every image. A ID is passed here. When I click that image, link component will make the user to redirect to that book details component. Here you can see the book details component. This is the book details component. So inside book details component there is index.jsp. Here you can see this is the code. As you seen before home page, this is also the same hierarchy. Like before loading the book details component inbound method will be executed. Inside this one, this dot get details will be executed. Inside the get details function, there is a API call to the databases. Here also the method is get authorizations. We wrote here. Same like home page. Here also switch details are common, but the content is different. For each and every API call, it will return different content. Here the book detail component, this API returns only the details of the particular book. But in the home page, when you use this API URL, it will return the details of all the books. Without the content of the books, it just returns the images of the books and the title of the books. But here in the book details component, when we use this API URL, it will return the details, clear explanation of the book. That is the only difference between home component and book details component. You can see here. Now here I am clicking one book. Let's see how it will be redirected to the book details. So you can see here, apart from book image and book title, it also contains information about author and about books. Now let's come to the home page. So here on the home page, you can see here find books and bookshelves. So find books is the button that we are wrapped inside the link component. You can see here. So here this is the find books button. So we are wrapped inside a link component, and the path here we given is shelf. And also in the header section, there is a bookshelf. Let's see what is the code here. So inside the header component, there is index.js file. So inside the bookshelf, so here again we are wrapped using link component, and the path we provided is shelf, which means when we click bookshelf or find books button, this uh, the browser will make the user to redirect to the shelf component. Let's see here. So here I am clicking bookshelf. So here the page redirected to the bookshelf page. Here in the book, here in the bookshelf page, you can see there are three sections: header section, sidebar section, and content on the bookshelf node. You can see here. This is the sidebar component. Inside there is an index.js page. So here you can see here. Now coming to the content of the sidebar, there you can see here all read, currently reading, want to read. So this is the content that is present inside the sidebar component. So whenever I click all or read or currently reading and want to read, that information get passed inside this chain shell, and this will be passed inside bookshelf component inside that is present inside index.js file. You can see here. You can see here chain shell. Here selected shell. So here selected shell function will be executed. Here this is the function, and inside the selected shell there is a set state function, and it is updating the shelf with all. When I click read, the same thing is happening inside the sidebar. That shelf message is passed inside chain shell. Inside the chain shelf, selected shelf will be executed inside the bookshelf component, and that will update state with read. You can see here. And also similarly, currently reading and also want to read. Now let's see, similar to the home page, the hierarchy also here is same. So inside the render function there is a return. You can see here this is the return. So inside the return, this is the code content of the bookshelf. So under this one there is a line switch details. This will be executed. Inside the switch details, this is the code about loading, success, failure, or empty. So before loading or anything, Whenever this page got loaded first, common data mount will be executed automatically inside this one. This data get details will be executed inside the get details API call made to selected shelf, and also for the input we typed inside this search input. Here we didn't type any input, so first it will take the empty input. So here search input contains empty input, and here the shelf variable always contains the information of the sidebar that we clicked here. Based on these two variables that got updated inside the state function, this method will be executed and the API call will be made to URL with method get. And here also here also we made authorizations with JW token that got returned when we logged in first, and these details got shown in the web browser. Now let's see search input inside Bookshare component. So whenever I type anything, when I click this button, nothing got from the database. Now let's see the search input inside Bookshare Pro. Whenever I type anything here, when I click this button, the text inside the input that will be switched that will be fetched inside this function, like that the data that is present inside this input will be fetched here in this function, change search function. Here I used on change event here that will be update inside the state, and from the state everything will be loaded and get details function will be executed. And inside the get details function, you can see here in the URL, in the search input, the data hop is loaded in the search input, and the API call is done to the database, and the data that written from the database is stored inside the data. And only for the data, when the URL got success, top list, new list is loaded. From here you can see here only this one got matched with the database. Now let's see what happens when I type anything. Here nothing got matched with the data in the database. That is why here this empty component is displayed here. This is the empty component here. You can see here. This is the code behind this empty component. When the user clicks on any of the books, then the page will be redirected to the book details route. You can see here. The details of the book will be displayed in this page. This is about my project. So when I click logout button, JW token inside the browser will be deleted and will redirect that page to the login page. You can see here. You can see here. Now now the page related to the login page. Thank you. Thank you. This is my project.